Wizards of the Coast just released some exciting new spoilers from the upcoming Stranger Things Secret Lair, and after taking a look at them, I have to say, these cards are extremely Commander focused.
Magic. I am a wizard! History. I'm an old wizard! The Magic Historian. My bones hurt.
Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. My friends, I hope the day finds you well because we are here to talk about some delicious spoiler action. Wizards of the Coast has decided to tease and tantalize us a bit ahead of the big super drop announcement and let us know some of what we're going to be getting in the Stranger Things Secret Lair. So what we're going to look at is going to be part of a Secret Lair that will be available as part of the super drop, and we'll be getting that announcement very soon. But with no further ado, let's get the first spoiler card we're going to talk about up on the screen. This is 11 the Mage. Now, if you're not really familiar with the concept of Stranger Things, it's not a show that I have really spent any time delving into hardcore. So the information I'm going to give you is just a little bit that can be gleaned from the outside. But ultimately, it's kind of a horror story where you have this poor girl, 11, her real name is Jane, and she has essentially been taken by this corporation because she has these sort of inborn psychic or psionic, however you want to look at it, she has mental powers. So essentially a corporation takes her and starts experimenting on her. And I have to say, ultimately that feels very real world, doesn't it? Like if you think about it, that's the kind of stuff that would most likely happen. Whenever I'm watching a movie or a show about somebody with powers and all this stuff, it's like, if you don't have the level of power that it would take to protect yourself from governments and massively rich corporations, you don't want people to know you have powers because they will disappear you to make money off of you. That is genuinely how I feel. So 11 essentially ends up getting taken. They experiment on her, and through these experiments, her psychic powers essentially open up a portal to another dimension, and all kinds of crazy evil ensues. And it actually ties in like mind flayers from Dungeons and Dragons and everything. It's a pretty funky concept for a show, an idea of somebody like this, and obviously being through this process would cause a lot of trauma to the individual. So you end up with somebody who may not be as balanced as they could be. So that is a little bit of the idea behind 11 the Mage, well, 11 from the show. So 11 the Mage, 1 red, 1 black, 1 blue, and 1 for a 3/5 legendary human wizard. Your maximum hand size is 11. Whenever 11 the Mage attacks, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. Then if you have 11 or more cards in your hand, you may cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand without paying its mana cost. And it has Friends Forever, which says you can have 2 commanders if both have Friends Forever. So ultimately, when taking a look at the mechanical aspects of this card, first of all, I love the fact that you've got the idea like, I am known as 11. Sure, her name is Jane, but she wants people to call her 11 or L. That's the nickname she's comfortable with. Tying that in mechanically to the whole idea of your maximum hand size is 11 is great because it ties into the name, but it also ties into the concept of her having her mind expanded by having these sort of psychic powers, but also perhaps by the fact that this corporation kind of made her use the powers, maybe flexed them, made them stronger, expanded her mind. But either way, that maximum hand size being 11 to me ties into her abilities. And also, whenever she attacks, you drawing a card and you losing a life feels right from a black mechanical standpoint, right? The black in her casting cost. But also, it feels like that concept of somebody who has these kind of powers but doesn't have absolute control. Remember, 11 is just a child, right? So exercising these kind of powers is probably going to cause collateral damage in the vicinity. And so you could kind of tie that in as losing the life, which I like. And then the rest of the ability, where it says if you have 11 or more cards in your hand, you may cast an instant or sorcery spell basically for free without paying its mana cost. To me, that's like, okay, you've expanded your mind, you've broadened your horizons enough in terms of your power that now you can control it more effectively. That is the more like effortless kind of skilled way of doing things, and that's why, okay, I've reached the point with my psychic powers where I can do this with incredible ease. And so once a turn, that equals casting the free spell when you attack. So for me, that's a pretty cool way of conceptually tying the card together. Now, the friends for everything is a little bit weird, so let's talk about that, because it is in essence essentially partner from Commander, but it's also not partner. And by that I mean, obviously when you're using Friends Forever, you're going to be able to have 2 commanders, right? But both of those commanders must have the keyworded ability Friends Forever. They are not interchangeable. So you can't take a commander like a legendary creature that has partner and a legendary creature that has Friends Forever and try to use them combined as your commanders. So that is interesting to note. It is a way for them to limit who you can combo these people up with and also give it a different kind of feel to it, right? Because who 11 is going to team up with is like they have a very strong bond. When it comes to partner cards from Commander, you can kind of slap anybody together. And actually this kind of makes me think about what's going on with the werewolf stuff in the current Innistrad set, where it's really close to the werewolf stuff from the previous Innistrad set, but not actually mechanically the same thing. So clearly we need to see who she is Friends Forever with. So let's take a look at Chief Jim Hopper. Now, in terms of the story, this is another main character. He essentially is a dude who rescues 11 and keeps her hidden for, I believe, roughly about a year. So she deals with stuff that's coming from this other dimension. I'm pretty sure overcomes them at least to a degree, and then she just boop disappears off the map and everybody thinks she's gone. But ultimately she's under the care of Jim Hopper, who ultimately ends up becoming like a father figure to her, right? So it's basically like dad and daughter, and you can see that vibe. I mean, somebody who is a police officer is already going to be drawn to protecting people who need that, right? They've got a sense of justice and trying to make the world a better place, at least in ideal situations, right? So this is the kind of character we're dealing with here, and he looks over, takes care of 11, so he is the other character that has Friends Forever. Now, this doesn't mean there won't be other Friends Forever cards, but he's the other one that can team up with her right off the bat. So this is 1 white, 1 red, and 2 for a 4/4 legendary human soldier. He's got Menace. Whenever Chief Jim Hopper attacks, investigate once for each non-token attacking creature. Now that is pretty beefy. That could generate you a lot of tokens in one go, and each of those can be either sacrificed to draw cards or just boost your overall artifact total in case you have a deck that cares about that. But as long as it's a non-token creature, then you're getting to investigate for each one of them, which is really, really cool, ultimately. I mean, I feel like that's a strong ability. The flavor text says, track the rot, see how far it goes. And that, if I'm understanding it correctly, basically these crops start to rot. And actually, you know what? It's pumpkins. You've got a cool Halloween vibe with it right there. So the pumpkin thing that's going on, essentially underneath these farmlands is like a cursed tunnel that has to do with the evil that's been released from that other dimension. So essentially, he is investigating all of that. As far as I understand, that's actually what leads him to end up becoming 11's guardian, is because he's investigating all this sort of mystic, otherworldly, evil sort of stuff that's going on. And one of the things I like about this is that the whole the whole show is set in like the 80s. So you don't have everybody having cell phones. You don't have everybody having internet access and easy ways to communicate and learn about things. It makes it much more believable and makes things much more horrific when you look at it from that perspective, where it's like, wow, there's some otherworldly evil that's been brought here through the psychic powers of a kid who is essentially tormented by a corporation, and you're just like a small town cop. You're a small town sheriff, and you've got to like figure this all out while trying to keep this like powered girl alive as well. It's nutty. I like the artwork. I like it with him crouched down, just shining his light down on the pumpkins. The flavor text ties into that perfectly, and that just made me remember that I didn't actually talk about 11's artwork. So let's take a quick look back at that, because I mean, it is some awesome looking artwork. It is straightforward in a way too. It's literally something you've seen in any number of shows, comics, whatever, where someone has psychic powers and they're activating them. The hand forward, the screams, you've got kind of like these lights beaming out from behind her, making it look like reality is a little bit warped. And also it looks like she's in a dark forest kind of void. It's pretty intense artwork overall. Either way, these are the spoilers, my friends. Wizards of the Coast might actually be spoiling the entire Secret Lair Super Drop bundle later today. I'm really hopeful that's what's going on. If that's the case, we'll talk about it in tonight's live stream, and either way, I'll be doing videos on it. So, thanks for coming by. Let me know your thoughts, and I will see you all in the next video.